What's going on, guys? Maul with Jackalmen Games here with Nick Obi, aka Tacster from Artificery. He actually is in top 4 currently. And how you feeling and what are you playing?
I'm playing the Jabba Watt Sentinel Messenger. It's like your classic villain support. It's like what the Snoke decks used to be, but we don't have Snoke with the power action that makes a bunch of money anymore. So this is kind of like the fair version. Watt's power action is very good. Jabba's ability is very good for cycling through your deck. Even if you notice that like your fists are both on the top and then you cycle them to the bottom and it makes you sad, which has happened, but...
Literally last game.
Yeah, so it's just running all the big sports
so
kind of
I know that some decks, like the Afra deck, is playing these two and then just Afra. Would you, why do you choose Jabba over Afra?
I mean, Jabba has a 2 focus side. Like, everything about his dice is pretty good, but the +2 money is hard to resolve because if it's like bait for removal, like you're not usually sitting with like 2 base resource sides out there, right. And if you do, you probably had to focus to it. So like, it's kind of like it's hard to resolve, but if you can get into a situation where you know they can't do anything about it, it's you know 2 money is a better side of the die than any other one. So
right. And so it's just really like die side and plus the 6 card every time.
Yeah.
My take on Afra is like it's really strong, but I don't like the extra damage that you have to take to yourself to kind of cycle. So it's like, all right. So what do you got for us first?
All right. So we should give out the support package. So we got your classic double Entourage. Pretty nice. You can see that you shuffled a fist to the bottom of your deck. But when you play the Entourage, you shuffle the whole deck back up. So there's a level of like, yeah, Jabba's ability, you kind of know what's on the bottom of the deck, but once you play Entourage, you don't anymore, which can definitely be good. Could be bad, but I think a lot of times I'd rather it get shuffled after I've seen what's in there so I can get that stuff back to the top.
It makes it that much better when you play it.
Next, we have the Fickle Mercenaries, which pretty much are the counterpoint for the Entourage. You can pull a Fickle with the Entourage's ability. You can pull the other Entourage with it. It depends on like where we're at in the stage of the game. Sometimes we'll go Entourage into Fickle. Sometimes we'll go Entourage into Fickle just to get a bigger burst of damage right away because Entourage is the indirect damage, but it's not pushing out a bunch of direct damage. So if you really want to push something, you can just play an Entourage, pull out a Fickle, and then use the Watt power action to play the Fickle and get up to 6 damage from it if you have focus side showing. So it allows you to give a bigger punch right away if you go that route. Yeah. Versus like this is just trying to ramp into infinity basically. And like the disrupt side's fine. The indirect just feels awful early, and even the special doesn't feel great until you get a couple down. So once it's doing 3, and once you get Entourage, Fickle, and Jabba alive, like that, Entourage feels like it's a pretty good card then. But and the next we have Vader's Fist, which is...
Oh, so you don't play Hired Muscle at all?
No Hired Muscle. We don't really need it. It's fine for what it is, but...
I feel like it's really cost heavy, and like it could be... I would imagine it's kind of because this is more linear and can be resolved faster, right?
Yeah. And I don't know what it is because I don't know like if I really need it. I know some people are running 1 Hired Muscle as well, but like in any of the games I've played so far with it, I have never gotten to a point where I played an Entourage that did not have something to pull with Entourage. So like that would be the one reason you'd want it is like, well, I need another card to pull with it. And it just hasn't happened. And that just means that it probably happens in the less than 5%, which means that I could put a better card in.
I think we're in a weird spot with it because it's like when mill is prevalent in the meta, like you definitely need to make sure you see your targets.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
It's like non-existent here because Ewoks eat it a lot.
And if mill's in the meta, you also have new tools like the Canto Bite security that when it gets discarded, you get to put it into play for free. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, sure.
But then we have Vader's Fist, which is pretty self-explanatory. It kind of just wins games if you get it out early enough or late enough, or in a place where they just can't do anything about it. And
so anytime you play it?
Yeah, pretty much anytime. Anytime you play it and you get to resolve it and don't die, like that's the important part.
It's like you're
playing Fist before you're dead,
or
then
you're
good. And we have Mega Blaster, which is kind of like Fist, but way less scary, but still pretty scary. It can still hit out for like 6 damage when it comes out, 6 direct. In the first round with Watt, you can do 8 direct if you get everything perfectly. It gets the bonus dice for both Watt and Jabba being alive, so you know, you got 2 leaders, which is really nice for any of the leader stuff like Mega Blaster. So it takes them a significant chunk of the game to actually bust through the people that matter. And for the most part, you can try to get a lot more indirect on the Sentinel Messenger because he's not a leader. And while his ability is good and his die is good, especially the focus sides, he's not, at the end of the day, like the one that's turning on some of your cards too.
So you'd rather see him go first than the others?
Yeah, but nobody's going to kill him. No one has killed him first on purpose, yeah. Then we have some one-ofs. We got 000. He's just kind of there as a good cost die for 2. We are trying to like run something in there and experimented with like the Canto Buy and the Coruscant Police, but at the end of the day, like 000's die is just better than both of theirs. And you'll see like the rest of the deck, we actually have 4 cards in the rest of the deck that'll trigger his indirect damage. So I mean, even if you get 1 out of it, I'll feel like that's fine. It's 1 extra damage that I would have done with the other sports. And so he's really great to Watt power action, and like even the extra discard and disrupt side are pretty great. Senate Chamber is the other one-of support, and it is probably one of the best cards in the deck. It certainly helps out once you lose a character to give you consistency in the game. Even when you don't lose a character, just being able to discard or remove a die to turn the other one, like the power action on it is extremely strong. Being able to get to another 2 focus side just by removing 1 die. A lot of power at Senate Chamber. That's a hard one to have not run 2, but you know, it's unique, so you can't actually run 2 or play 2 at the same time. But it's nice to have. I don't get it out every game, but when it comes out, it certainly is impactful once you have other things to focus with it. How do we wonder? All right, and next we'll go with the Jabba events. So these are our yellow events that we are using with Jabba. There are only 6 of them. These are the only cards that you will ever pull with Jabba here, and they are all money oriented. So straight up, well connected, spot Jabba basically to gain a resource. Your opponent draws a card. Pretty good, just money. No good to be dead. Heal up to 2 from your opponent's guys to gain up to 2 resources. Very solid for like ramping out. Definitely don't want to cut that. And Delve, so Delve only hits the Fist and the Mega Blaster Troopers. Well, you could use it on other things, but it only gains value on those. But on a Fist, you're taking an indirect damage, which will trigger 000's ability if you have him out. And you get to play a Vader's Fist for 2 less is the key. Like, if you get Delve or Vader's Fist in your starting hand, or you get Fist and you Jabba and pull Delve from Jabba, like, it certainly opens up the possibilities for the round significantly, what you can do.
It's like a blowout.
It just makes it kind of there to kind of try to make up for the fact that you don't have Snoke in terms of making money. Like, these cards are kind of what you have to run in place to make the extra bucks.
Quick question.
Sorry, there's one more card that goes with this.
I was about to say, so why not? So did you think that giving them the resource was worse than giving them the card right now with Flight Truce because of the ambush?
Yeah, I think in the end it definitely is, because most of the time I'll end up using Well Connected at the end of the round, or using it as a Jabba draws a free card that you get to use to discard to reroll. So, like, his ability just to get an extra card in hand each round for the rerolls and stuff is really nice. And Well Connected in general is like, if you play it, it's nice, and if you don't play it, it's fine. Or you'll play it at the very end of the round if you can. So,
okay.
There is one more Jabba card that you can grab, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's not a money card, but it is Desperate Measures. It is the counter to the other supports that are out there. Pretty good. Not much else to say about it. You spot a yellow character, you take damage equal to the cost, and you just chunk out their support. It's pretty good.
Usually they target Jabba first, right? And so like after he dies, you're just like, well, it's a reroll.
Yeah, that's fine. That happens.
All right.
I'd say Jabba, Watt, and then equally targeted first.
Yeah, it can be pretty absurd.
Next we have a few utility cards here. We have the Separatist Embargo and Counterintelligence. Kind of serve the same purpose in just making my opponent's options more limited. Counterintelligence, you look at their hand, take a card, put an event, put it on top of their deck. It's pretty much like Friends in Low Places, with slightly worse but slightly better at the same time. You can hit bigger cost events. Well, let's be honest, everyone's playing the 0 cost and the 1 cost, so it's pretty much just slightly worse than the Friends in Low Places.
But it still gives you the green light, right?
Yeah, you still get the hand knowledge, and you still get the ability to remove 1 removal, giving you full reign of the turn usually. Because oftentimes, like if you remove 1 of their removal and you know, oh, all they have left is a hidden motive, that just gives you a lot to work with for the turn. And especially with something like Droids that has no real way of drawing cards in most versions of the deck. And then Separatist Embargo is another card that you can call out any card in the game and then it cannot be played by either player. Certainly an interesting one, certainly very matchup dependent. Don't play it all the time, have played it sometimes, definitely has helped. The most awkward times is like the first round yesterday. I ended up playing it right away when I kind of got disrupted out of all my plays, and he got a ton of resources in a mirror, a Jabba, and I played the Embargo because I knew he had a fist in hand, and neither of us was able to play the fist all game because of it. Now you can desperate measure it, but nobody ended up doing that either. But just the fact that it locks you out certainly makes it not as powerful as it could be otherwise. But when you need it, it's the kind of thing there, and it works very well with Counterintelligence if you have both out at the same time in the same hand. You can look at their hand, hit a card, call out Embargo, and basically lock out another card. And if there's another one in the deck later, it'll hit it. So even calling removal with this is pretty good too. If you know that once you're in the top cut and you know their deck list, knowing which removal to call with it can also be really helpful. I know I did that in one of the games versus Kylo Ray, where I called the one cost removal they had.
Or like if you know like they're playing DM or something, and like you need your fist to stay on the board.
And you
like,
can stop them from, or you can stop anyone from playing desperate measures. So yeah, that's those. And then last we have removal. It's not special. It's not a lot. It's the 0 cost package, 8 0 cost, nothing else. No entangle, no beguile. We don't want to spend any money on removal if we can help it. We're just spending it on our support. So usually you just end up with 1, and it doesn't always feel good. And that's why you kind of just got to eat it. And that's fine.
8-11 damage that round 1.
Yeah, like round 1. But
like...
I think that's part of what played into what I had. I knew exactly what he had in his hand. I knew he probably still. Honestly, I think he would have been better off ramping than going for damage because I was able to get everything I needed that round.
And you were just able to burst R2 off the board round 1, and
that is essentially an auto win. Like, it doesn't matter that you got 11 damage there. Like, they would have taken a lot coming into the round 2 with very little resources. So.
So overall, like we're like so far, out of every card in the deck, like what were the MVPs if you had to choose 1 or 2? Is there any like specific cards that you would change up, like looking back at it?
I wish I could fit Probe in here as well as Counterintelligence. That would be like the one thing. Maybe in a meta without many other supports, you'd cut Desperate Measure to put a Probe in. A Probe just feels really good. But also having more yellow cards for Jabba, even for the reroll, feels pretty nice. I think the support lineup, at least the main 8, is kind of locked in. You could do something different from 000. I think you want at least probably 9 damaging supports. But there's not a lot more flex to the list. I think the Fist is the MVP. It always is. I think it always will be in every deck that it's in until it rotates out.
Right. Last question. How does it feel to be currently the only villain deck in the top 4?
Oh, is that it? Because we have 2 droids and an Ewoks.
And an Ewoks, that's it. And then you. 2 choppers, and 2 chopper droids, and Bobby playing Ewoks.
Well, there certainly weren't a lot of villain decks here in general, but I guess it feels good. It feels like I made the right choice, except I don't think... I got lucky in that I didn't have to play the Ewoks, so I think it's a little hard matchup with the way that things are. You're not in
Bobby's bracket either, so it would be in the finals that you play him.
Yeah, exactly. So like pretty much all the Ewoks were on the other side of the bracket, which I feel like was on the luckier side, so I didn't have to face them. This was kind of tested mostly against droid decks, and it should do well against droid decks if it hits the average amount of supports at an early enough time.
Right.
That's pretty much the goal. If you hit it, it kind of should win and just stomp. And when you don't, it's hard.
Right, for sure. Well, we appreciate you letting us see your deck profile. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you next time, bud.
Sounds good.
We hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the link below to join our Jackalmen Games Discord channel, where you can be a part of this amazing community. If you'd like to support Jackalmen Games, click the link below to check out our Patreon. See you guys there.